All right, good evening. Welcome, everyone. So happy that all of you are able to make it with us tonight. The focus of this workshop is really to help get everybody prepared to either return to the job market or help on your job search during this time. The name of this workshop is Career Enhancement After COVID, but in hindsight, we're still dealing with this pandemic. So it's really during COVID as we're still working through this. So tonight we have some expert speakers that are going to help guide us on preparing for those interviews, finding opportunities, and once we get that opportunity, how do we master that so we can land a job? Right, so great. Sorry about that. That's not what you should have in your background when you're having an interview. That's a perfect example of what not to do.
My dog just did the same thing. Too funny.
So we're going to go ahead and get started with introducing our speakers. I think our tech team is just working on getting us going. All right. So again, topics coming forward are how to enhance your resume and cover letter, job search tips, the right interview look, and mastering the virtual interview. So moving right on. First up, we'll have Tatiana Fisher. Tatiana, as you can see, is a mental health counseling intern who is currently studying to sit for the National Clinical Mental Health Counseling exam. She has been assisting many with developing and enhancing their resume. Her goal is to implement resume writing, interview prep, and mock interviewing into her lesson plans once she becomes a college professor in the near future. Welcome, Tatiana, and thank you. We also have Jessica McDaniel, who has a wealth of knowledge and experience in HR. She earned her dual undergraduate degree in business management and human resources from Florida State University. She is currently a human resources director at a senior living community in Tallahassee, Florida, where she supports nearly 350 employees. So she brings us all that we need to know from an HR perspective. Keisha is coming to us live and in color. She is an amazing makeup artist who's going to get us all the way together, know exactly how do we present ourselves for that interview. She's also a motivational speaker that harnesses the power of her own story to connect authentically through real talk paired with deep hope. So we are really looking forward to Keisha. I know I need all the tips I can get because I don't really know what to do with my own makeup. Cheryl Morris, this is actually one of my faves and my own personal mentor. So Cheryl comes to us. She is currently the Vice President of Oncology and Digestive Health for Wellstar Health System. Cheryl is going to speak on mastering that interview. She has served as a team leader and facilitator for many award-winning hospital patient safety and process improvement initiatives. So tonight, Cheryl will guide us on how do we master that virtual interview, which is a new world for many of us. Up first, we're going to have Tatiana, who's going to get us together and get our resumes right. This, just to kind of set the stage, everyone, while we have our speakers going, if you can keep your devices on mute, there will be opportunity for interaction and for questions. We're here for you, so we definitely want to hear from you. Please feel free to utilize the chat, and we'll let you know when to unmute and when you can ask questions. All right. Tatiana, are you ready for us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had to figure out how to unmute this. All righty, you want me to go ahead and start? Okay, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Tatiana Fisher, like she said, and I'm here this evening just to speak with you all about cover letters and resumes. So a resume, honestly, is just a brief written account of personal, educational, professional qualifications and experience that you prepare as a job applicant. A lot of people say all the time, a good resume will land you a job, but you are sure to get an interview with a good resume. However, your confidence and skills to meet the organization's requirements are determining factors is what's going to land you the job. One of the things that's really big on me when it comes to writing a resume is structure. I see a lot of times where I help like a lot of my friends and family members put their resumes together, and when I'm looking at the resume, I'm like, okay, so what are you applying for? What is it that you do? Who are you? Your resume is basically a synopsis of yourself, who you are. And one of the main important things about resume writing is structuring your resume. And right here is an example of ways to structure your resume. When I was working with a friend of mine, she just became a registered nurse. And one of her biggest issues were she wasn't getting a job. And I'm like, you're a nurse. What do you mean you're not getting a job? What's going on? Let me look at your resume. When I looked at her resume, I couldn't tell that she was a nurse. One of the biggest things that they want to look at, like employers want to look at when you are interviewing with them, is your name, your credentials. If you're applying for a job as an RN, you need to put Tatiana Fisher, comma, RN, or comma, registered nurse. Let them know who's applying for that job. Also give them your location, contact information. They want to be able to see these things immediately when they look at your resume, because they want to know who you are, what credentials do you have, where you're located, and how can I contact you. Those are the four biggest things. That's why for me, structuring your resume and having those four things at the top is very important. Once you do that, then you jump down to your summary of qualifications, your educational background. Then we move into your employment history and organization and community involvement. A lot of people are stuck on black and white resumes. I always say use various colors to help your resume stand out. Every resume that comes through is going to be, white background, black writing, white background, black writing. So I always say put a little color into it, put some pop into it, let your resume stand out. Yes, black and white resumes, they look at it as classy, but using various colors helps the recruiter notice your resume. However, just make sure that you maintain a professional look when doing so. You are your brand. That is your resume. So make sure you stand out. And lastly, I wanted to cover, key points. Can you go to the next one?
Back one more, Rochelle. There you go.
All righty, next one, please.
I'm sorry, forward or backwards?
I'm sorry. We're right here. My computer's moving and it's a little slow. I apologize. Okay, so here we are right now with key points to standing your resume out. Make sure when you're remember, like I said, this is a snapshot of you. You are your brand. So make sure you use strong words that emphasize your level of expertise. You need to make these employers know, hey, I deserve this job. This job is me. Highlight your leadership skills. Make sure you use action words that show your leaderships and your transformation, and show that you are result oriented. We can go to the next slide.
Next slide, the myth.
And last but not least, I wanted to cover the myth of the resume. Everybody feels as though I have to put every single job on my resume. When I was 15, I worked at Wendy's, and then I worked at McDonald's, and now I'm working as, a nurse at the hospital. They have to know everything. No, they don't need to know all of that. Unless you are applying for like a government job or something of that nature, and they ask you to list every job that you have ever worked within the last 10 years, cover your recent history, yes, but also make sure you cover relevant history. That is what's important. You coming to me, I'm a director at a mental health hospital, and you coming to me and you showing me your work experience. Okay, I want to see that. I want to know, your background. I want to know your past experience. But I don't want to know about McDonald's. I want to know the jobs that you had that led you to applying for this position right here. So make sure when you are doing your resume, you're covering relevant work experience.
All right, a few questions for you, Tatiana. Thank you so much for that. So we talked a lot about the resume. Can you tell us a little bit about the cover letter? What should that entail and when is it appropriate?
So I believe that a cover letter is appropriate. A lot of employers ask for a cover letter. A lot of employers don't ask for a cover letter. I myself personally, I always write a cover letter. I always create a cover letter when I'm submitting a resume. Reason being is because that's your introduction. Yes, your resume is a highlights of you, but your cover letter is your introduction. When you're doing the cover letter, I set up my cover letters as in at the top left-hand corner, I address myself. Under that, I address who I am, who am I addressing? And then from that cover letter, you just give them a quick synopsis about yourself. Give them maybe 4 or 5 sentences, just going in, telling them about yourself, letting them know why you feel like, you're a phenomenal person for this job, and just really giving yourself a quick snapshot. So when they flip the next page, boom, there's your resume. There's everything highlighted as to what you just quickly said in that one paragraph that you put on the cover letter.
Okay, excellent. Any other feedback or questions regarding resume?
I have a question. So, Tatiana, I know you mentioned that we should not include, I guess, all of our work history, but some jobs, like I'm not a new grad, but I graduated grad school in 2018, and a lot of these jobs are like, we need you to have 5 to 7 years of work experience. So how else will they know? Or does that kind of go back to what you said, like if they ask?
If they ask for it, then I say put it, but I say relevant experience. Because like I said, if you're coming to apply for a job as a care coordinator at a psychiatric hospital, working at McDonald's, that's not really relevant experience. It shows that you have working experience, but that's not relevant experience. So what about your internship? Did you intern prior to coming here? What did you work on college campus doing anything? I would say add some things in there other than, a cashier at McDonald's or a cashier at Wendy's. Add some relevant experience in there. Even if you helped out a professor grading papers, or even if speaking with kids on campus. Like I started an organization, Fisher and Company, when I was an undergrad, helping individuals create their resumes and things of that nature. I primarily work with student athletes. So one of the things that I put on my resume when I moved into college, when I moved out of college going into the real world, I didn't have any experience. So I put that on there. I put Fisher and Company, and I put that information on there that I helped students out, but I made it seem like I was the director because it was my little small business.
Excellent. Many of us are juggling our own businesses while developing our own experience. How do we incorporate our entrepreneurship background into our resume?
I say the biggest thing is, I always say make sure you put it in there, because one thing that jobs likes is leadership. They like responsibility. Those are really big key points that employers look at when they're looking to hire you. So if you add that into your resume, they see your balance. They see that you're working towards balancing having a full-time career and also being a full-time entrepreneur. They see responsibility. They see dedication. Those are big things to a lot of employers. When they see your work ethic and your drive, that's what pushes them more to wanting to sit you down and get to know you more. Because like I said earlier, a good resume is going to get you the interview, but your work ethic, your experience, your drive, your determination, that's what's going to land you that job.
All right. Thank you so much, Tatiana. Any other questions from the audience? If not, there'll be an opportunity at the end for anything that would be relevant for Tatiana. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to, now we've got that resume, we've got the cover letter down pat. How do we make sure that it gets into the right hands? How do we find the job that we're looking for? So we have Jessica McDaniel, again, HR connoisseur and HR expert, who's going to help us with that job search.
That's a lot of pressure. I don't know about the expert, but thank you for that introduction. And great job, Tatiana. I was shaking my head through most of your presentation. You highlighted a lot of key points there. So when it comes to looking for a job, this is really a great time during the pandemic to kind of transition into a different career. A lot of people were in hospitality or maybe food industry and got laid off during the pandemic. So here's a time to maybe pivot and shift to something different. So one of the things that you want to consider is, just like the stock market, what's booming right now? We know that healthcare is booming. We know that pharmaceuticals booming. Pfizer just announced and Moderna just announced their vaccinations. Well, think about behind the scenes. Those large companies need people in various positions in order to make that work. Logistics is a big one. I know with the holiday season, of course, but throughout the year, Amazon, UPS, FedEx, those larger companies will often have a lot of hiring positions open as well. And then, of course, the tech market. Who would have thought that Zoom would have taken off the way that it has during this pandemic, and even Skype and some of the other companies? So always kind of keep that in the back of your mind and think about, what it is that you want to do career-wise, and start to look at some of those options. When you are beginning your search, some of the more popular job search websites are Indeed. A lot of people may not know, but Indeed actually has a job alert feature. So you can kind of put in your search terms, that if you're looking for a particular salary, if you're looking for a particular location, and they will automatically email you job alerts. So they take some of the work out of it for you. You can set it up to where you get a daily alert, a weekly alert, or however often you so choose. The company websites are often a great source as well. So I just mentioned Amazon, Pfizer, healthcare companies. There are oftentimes positions that may not be posted on Indeed or some of the job website options. And so it's always best to go directly to the source. A lot of times when you go to those direct websites as well, you can look at more information about the company, their history, their background. It also will tell you about their benefits and what they may offer. If you are doing a graduate program and you want to get tuition reimbursement, that's a great opportunity to find out some of that information. A lot of people are familiar with LinkedIn as well, and having a professional profile on LinkedIn. If you are, they have a section that is strictly for job postings, so you can go on there and check out what positions may be listed. And it also a lot of times tell you the recruiter, so you have the direct contact information. So a lot of people are applying on websites or waiting to get a response back. That's an opportunity for you to be proactive and contact that person and say, hey, I just applied for this position and I'm interested, and here's a little bit more about my background. You can also be proactive and say, when is a good time for us to schedule a 15-minute conversation? And that will go a long way as well. So those are some of the options when you're actually starting your search. Helpful application tips. So one of the things that Tatiana touched on earlier is about your resume. I can't say how many times it's happened where someone has submitted a resume and we go to make the phone call and their phone number is outdated. So you always want to make sure your information is the most accurate, and of course having a professional email address listed on your resume as well. One of the key things is matching your resume to the position. So I know someone was asking earlier about if you don't have the work experience. So it's important to look at the actual job description and job details and tweak and edit your resume so that those keywords that are listed in the job description will be listed on your resume. A lot of times companies have software that kind of highlights, well, this person has 20 keywords on their resume and this person only has 10. So they will go with that resume first, especially if it's what's considered a high volume application position where there may be 30 or more applicants. And again, you want to be able to make sure that you stand out. And so you may quickly move to the top of the list versus the bottom. As she also mentioned earlier, cover letters are important and they still do work. That will set you out. If there again are 30 applicants, we do look at the ones that have a cover letter attached because it can give a summary of information. And if you are in a shift of transitioning industries or just coming out of a grad school program, that's your opportunity to kind of give a summary of that there before you even speak with someone over the phone or in person. Next slide. So following through. So this is a real fine balance. You can email and reach out to a recruiter, but you don't want to cross the line where you're being almost too aggressive. So there are templates that are online that can kind of give you a short blurb to introduce yourself, follow up. We had a phone interview last week. When you're emailing the recruiter is also a good time to say, hey, I saw this article about your company online. That lets them know that you're really interested, that you're taking the time to do the research. and that you are following up. So just those little extra steps can help. A lot of companies now also have like progress bars or status bars for your job application. So you can log back into the portal and see if it says that your resume is being reviewed or considered, or if they're looking to move forward with an interview, and also even if it's being rejected. So if it has been rejected, that kind of gives you an idea that you're not in consideration and maybe move on to the next opportunity. Also, if there's a particular company that you are just, dying to get into, their Google alerts as well. So you can put in that company's name and it will send you a weekly alert of what's going on with that company. If their stocks have risen, if they're opening a new location, if they have a new CEO, just different things that are going on business-wise with that organization to keep you abreast as well. So those are my tips to help you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Those were awesome. Any questions from the audience regarding finding that job now that you've got your resume, your cover letter together? Any other questions on that?
Hello, I have a question. Hi, Jessica. My name's Kiana.
Hi.
So how soon is too soon to follow up on an interview?
So that's a great question. Typically, you want to do a thank you note or email to the recruiter the next day. And I say that because if you're anything like me, you're driving home from the interview and you're like, oh, I forgot to say that, or I wish I would have said that. So that's an opportunity for you to capture some of those things in an email and say thank you. And you're still kind of fresh at mind. So I would say within the first 24 hours would be a great time.
Great point. You mentioned keywords to because of software that's being used to review these applications. Do you recommend that each time you submit your resume and apply for a job do you recommend that you adjust it for each application?
You can, and I know sometimes that may feel like a lot of work, but it will pay off in the long run. If you're applying for positions that are similar, you may not have to tweak it as much, but if you're applying for positions that may be totally different, then yes, you do want to update it each time.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's very difficult or do you have any recommendations for because you're saying to use keywords and things like that, to translate like your military experience into civilian jobs? Because I know there's plenty of civilian jobs that I can do, but not my military experience might not translate into that.
Sure. So there is a big push right now to hire veterans. So that's something that I would say to highlight your military experience at the top of your resume and not at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And then there, you can just Google. So like logistics, I don't know your exact background, but I think of one. We have a couple people in our company that were in the military in logistics. So you can kind of pull terminology from the job and then kind of relate it back to what you did.
Okay.
And if you want to get my contact information afterwards, I can follow up with you and we can take a look at it together and I can maybe help.
That would be outstanding. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Jessica. It's me, Kiana, again. So I actually had another question about interview attire. I know right now most interviews are virtual. However, some are still in person. And I was just wondering, does interview attire really have an impact on whether you're being hired or not? Like, let's say I come in with a professional dress on, but it's tight, or my suit skirt is short. Will that have a negative impact, or does it not really matter?
It can, but also remember that's your first impression. So on some interviews, you may be meeting with the basic level recruiter. Some interviews, you may be meeting with a director level or a maybe even a top level executive. So your dress attire is very important and it kind of sets the tone. I know trends have changed where it's a little bit more lax than it has been in the past, but you still want to be cognizant of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions? If not, we're gonna move on to Keisha, who's gonna help make sure that we look good after our resume is all together. We finally got it into the right person and it's been picked up. So now we're prepping for that interview, and Keisha's gonna help make sure that we look the part.
Hi guys, I see some familiar names and I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's sent it last minute, but as usual, you guys are riders. And thanks for having me, Tamara and Rochelle. I don't see Rochelle, but I'm sure she's on, and Kiera. The previous ladies that went before me, those information, that was really, really informative and just very simple and basic. Anybody could understand that. You guys broke it down and made it simple for us. And that's very helpful. So I'm gonna try to follow in your footsteps and just make this an easy process. I'm gonna read what I currently sent over for the bullet points, but then I'm also gonna do a quick demonstration for you. So I'm gonna read something to you guys. And when doing an interview, it's most times said that the interviewer should be drawn to your personality and what you have to say and not necessarily what you're wearing, right? That sounds good. However, the truth is the interviewer will spend the majority of his or her time looking at your face. It's just what it is. If they're not blind, they're gonna see your face, right? So it is important that we give the right impression. Now we have on the bullet point, less is always more. Wearing makeup shows that you're professional, polished, and confident. I know a lot of people, they don't wear makeup. And when they think of makeup, they think of heavy, they think of a lot, they think of just all the negatives. But you can wear makeup. You can wear it where it's a refreshed look. You can wear it where it's a skin finished look and not being overdone. There's a time and place for everything. You have night makeup, you have day makeup, you have club makeup, you have church makeup, I guess. I don't know. However, you're not gonna walk in an interview with the same makeup that you'd probably wear at night or to the club or on your wedding day. You're just not gonna do that. So we can move on to the next slide. So less is always more. So when we break down the foundation, the essentials of makeup, we have the foundation, we have concealer, blush, eyeliner, lip liner, not even lip liner, but lipstick and lip gloss, mascara. Those are just the simple essentials. When we start with foundation, you want to make sure that you're using the foundation that matches your skin. We're in the era now where everything so far, and hopefully this will change a little bit, but right now we're in the virtual world. So we want to make sure that the foundation matches our skin. Now, if you're new to makeup and you're not good at, matching your skin, that's okay. There's also what is called tinted moisturizer, and pretty much it's a moisturizer, but it has tint on it, which will give you somewhat the same effect of if you have a foundation on. So there's always options. You have powder foundation, which is liquid or cream, and then you have tinted moisturizer. Now, if you say, and I really hate this term, but I'm gonna use it, that way we're just being real here. So you have good skin. You don't have problematic skin, right? There are people who can get away with just wearing powder on their faces. The thing that I find with powder, especially on camera, is that it gives an ashy feedback, right? It can make you look ashy or dry if you don't do the proper steps to that. Now, if you're gonna wear if you're just gonna wear a powder, there's some powder that are mineralized skin finish, meaning it will give you a nice glow. So you do your routine, you wash your face, you put on your moisturizer, your serum, whatever. So your face is prepped and ready for the essentials that you're gonna apply, whether it's your foundation, your powder only, or foundation and powder, because your powder is what seals or sets any cream or liquid. And then your tinted moisturizer. When you do that, it's not gonna give that ashy feedback, right? And this is for the people that just use powder. I know I have a lot of friends, all they wear is powder and it looks good on them because, I give them the tip, girl, you need to moisturize before you put that powder on. You got to break it down for your friends. Once they learn that, they're good to go. Then you have people who have problematic skin. I mean, a lot of women, we have hormonal breakout, right? So sometimes you get pimples. In that case, you want to do a little concealer or you want to do foundation, because when you put just powder over pimples, it tends to highlight it. Doesn't work, right? Now, let me do a quick little demonstration, right? So we're going in today. We're going to do it really fast and really quick. So I had this makeup on the whole day today. I didn't reapply or touch up because I wanted you guys to get the effect of what I'm about to do, right? So I already have on my foundation and I did the whole concealer, what have you. But there are a lot of people that are afraid to apply concealer because they really don't know how much to do or the purpose of it. Concealer is pretty much you can use it to awaken the eye. Are you there? Okay,
Yes, we are. We just took off the screen so we could have
I noticed that. Let me adjust
to see you better.
Perfect. Thank you. So we're running rap. We're moms, we're sisters, we're everything. We're women. And so we're always tired. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired. So concealer will help to brighten your eyes, right? So in applying concealer, you don't want to go too heavy if you're doing a virtual look, because again, this is a nice, clean, fresh face that you want to present, but you still don't want to look like somebody beat you before you came on camera. So in applying concealer, this is pretty much after you have your foundation on, right? It's very simple. You do an upside down triangle under your eyes. Can you see? Can you guys see?
Yes.
Good? So it's a simple upside down triangle, right? And I like to use my sponge because it works. Some people use their hands and that's fine. You can use your brush. Whatever works for you, that's what you do. So when I put my concealer on, I simply push it into my skin. Let me know if you guys are seeing, right? I use a sponge because it goes right under the eye. And you also want to make sure that all visible lines are gone, right? Now, remember what I said earlier about liquids and creams. Can you see that? You see the difference? Remember what I said about liquids and cream. I can't just leave this like that. It's going to run. So I want to set my concealer with a powder, a loose powder. Some people set it with without a loose powder, but I prefer loose powder because I can always brush it away. So I have two, and Laura Mercier, they offer the light and they offer the dark, the deep. So this is what I do, right? I quickly go back and I set what I did. See the difference? Now you don't want that to stay there. So when you're done, you just go over with whatever setting powder you normally use to create a nice skin finished look. I'm using my dark from MAC and it's mineralized. And I go over the same area and you use that same brush to apply your powder. You don't want a heavy look. So you just use the same brush because it has products in it. That's the problem. People forget that their product is still in your brush. So that one swoop that I did can do your whole face. Pretty much just go over it. We talked about blush. And see, your face is set, right? Nice, clean skin finish, but my eyes look bright. Awaken. We spoke about blush and the importance of blush. It gives you a healthy looking skin. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit to wake up. There you go. Thank you. So blush adds a healthy glow to your skin and helps you look awake. See, we mentioned about the concealer used to brighten up the under eyes. Always remember to set with your concealer with powder. If you don't set your concealer, you are going to melt, especially if you're sitting under a light. It's just gonna run and start looking just cakey and just not appropriate. We don't want that in an interview. You wanna look polished and clean, very confident, come representing your brand. You are your brand. So with your blush, all you need is a little bit. A little goes a long way. So right now, all you're seeing is just my face. You're gonna see how when adding the blush creates dimension. Just on the cheeks. Can you see that, guys?
Yes, you make it look very easy.
It is very, and I'm using the same brush. So you're just waking up your face. Now, if you feel like you want to go in a little extra with a little contouring, again, you can do that, but it's all in the technique. You get a darker color foundation, one shade above the color that you use, one or two. And all you do is go around the perimeter of your face. In your hairline, right in there. Now you're creating depth, right in the jawline, right there. So you don't look so flat. See?
Yep.
Now, if you want to do shadow, that's completely up to you. What I recommend for eyeshadow is always go with neutrals, right? When I say neutrals and earth tones, we're not doing the glitter tonight. We're not doing the glitter in the interview. The golds and the glitter, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna go with orange, those deep tones, orange. And you might say orange, but I'm gonna show you what orange looks like on a nice black girl. Black girls, we know how to rock orange. And it gives you a nice clean look. So you go with the oranges, lighter orange. I don't know what color that is, but these are the colors I'm referring to. Colors that are matte, nothing glitter. Because again, we want to look polished. We don't want to shock the people. The focus should be on who we are and not necessarily what we're wearing or what we look like. In any case, they're still gonna look, but you still want to ensure that your face is not a distraction. It's just an enhancement, right? So remember I told you about the orange. I'm gonna dip my brush real quick, and all I do is, actually, let me use the other one. I just go over the entire lid. Again, you're not going in deep. You just creating dimension on your face using earth tones. And then you can just put a darker matted color over the rim of your eye. You can even touch it. Can you guys see me?
Yes, we're all taking notes.
Oh, okay. I feel like I feel like you guys are gone. I can't see anybody.
No, we're here. We just
Okay.
wanted you to be the focus. So you were
Oh, okay.
you're doing
Yes,
it.
Yes, we
Quick
are
little
focused.
trick with mascara. You guys getting it? You see the difference? It's there, but it's not loud, right? It's there, it's not loud. You can still see a little definition. And then with mascara, I normally have a lash here or there on. Some people have their lash on, and that's fine. But you don't want to do the lashes with the feathers. That's just a little bit too much. We don't want to scare the people. You know, we do something that looks polished. That's the key word, polished and professional. So with mascara, this is what I normally tend to tell people, just double up. So you go 2 times or 3 times with your mascara. You can line the top of your eyelid as well, but if you do, make sure you're using an eyeliner and not a liquid, because you don't want it to look harsh. With the pencil, you can always buff it out and create that smooth look. With the eyeliner, the liquid liner, it's too harsh. I wouldn't recommend it for an interview. So you double or triple up on the mascara. If you wear lashes, that's fine. If you don't, double and triple. You can also do the bottom. Always make sure the top is dry before you do the bottom. I'm just good at it, so it's not, but you don't want to have raccoon eyes on your interview, right? And so after you do that, you can opt for a lip gloss or lipstick. Now, stay away from colors like reds and blues and anything that's too loud. That's just a no-no. So I always go for lip gloss, but if you want to do color, you can do a neutral color. You can do browns, you can do corals, soft corals. You can do pink. If you're doing pink, I would recommend that you do it in the Cupid's bow. For example, you can put on a little gloss. You put the gloss on, right? And then when I say in your Cupid's bow, you're gonna apply, this is where you're gonna apply the pink or the coral, right here. This is your Cupid's bow. You apply it in here. This has no color, so you really can't see. But picture that this is pink, and you put it in your Cupid's bow, and you simply do this. By the time the interview begins, it will already disperse itself, and you have a nice, clean look, right? Now, you can come back to the thing so I can see you. I can't see anybody. I feel like I'm by myself, so I want to make sure I'm seeing you guys. So, remember I mentioned if you wear glasses, it also helps to triple up on your mascara. I'm going to show you the kids so you can see. I wear glasses. So if I don't have my lashes on, wearing mascara, I triple up on my coats, the application. And also if you wear glasses, eyeshadow won't hurt at all. It just enhances, because remember you have glasses on, so it's not gonna be a big deal. Just try to stay within the colors that actually make sense. Now, as far as that's pretty much it with your face, and you can set your face with, they have makeup spray, set your face, that way you don't look, because makeup has a tendency, when you initially do it, you have flashbacks. So you wanna either do your makeup before you do your hair, before you iron your clothes, that way by the time you get on set, I call it on set, by the time you get in front of the camera, you have a natural glow. Now, if you don't have time to do that and you do your makeup and you got to go directly to your interview, you can spray your face and it will give you that glow that you're looking for. As far as your hair, I would recommend try not to wear anything. I work in the industry where I'm a creative, so my hair is a little different. However, try to stay away from blue extensions and red extensions, and we try to make an impression here. We can always add those things in after we get the job, and then you're like, I'm here, you already hired me, and I come with blue hair. But the initial stage, we don't want to shock them. So try to do hairstyles that are more toned down. If your hair is curly, if you have big curls, natural built curls, you might want to put it back in a nice ponytail. There's nothing wrong with that. You can put it in a nice ponytail. You could put it up in a nice ponytail. Try to show your face. If you curl your hair, don't do so many curls like ringlets. You don't want to do that. Then you're gonna end up looking like Shirley Temple. You want to do nice, big, wavy, soft curls. Again, we're going for polished looks. If you're wearing an extension or a wig, try not to get a wig that has the bang all in your face, and you have to be doing this throughout the entire interview. It's very distracting. So whatever you decide to wear as far as your hair is concerned, Once your hair is done, you shouldn't be messing with it in front of the interviewer. You don't need to do that. Choose a hairstyle that will have you feeling confident, showing off your beautiful face, but also at the same time not being a distraction. And then that's pretty much it. You walk in, all dolled up. They have no choice but to hire you. Your resume, we gave you all the tips for the resume. We gave you the tips for the face, the look, that personality. Now bring it. You're hired.
Keisha, that was amazing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Amazing. We can't thank you enough. I'm sure there are a few questions.
I had one point that I wanted to, and I even brought it too. Try not to go in there with oversized earrings. So you want to do your knobs. You want to do your knobs and your studs. It just, again, keep in your head the words polished, professional, nothing distracting. We can leave the big earrings for when your girlfriend comes to pick you up and you go celebrate on the new job that you got. But try to keep, this is not distracting. It's studs. Studs are good. Anything that does not come below the earlobe, that's perfectly fine. That's it.
Awesome. That was a great point. So I didn't even know that I had a Cupid's bowl, so I definitely just learned that.
Yes, we all have one. And when you put if you have lipstick on and you want to apply a little bit of gloss, all you need to do is put the gloss in your Cupid's bowl, and by the time you're walking through the door, the gloss will eventually spread on its own. So instead of putting it all over, then you look like this. We don't want that. We want a nice look. So allow it to evenly disperse naturally.
Excellent. Do we have any questions from the audience before we move on to mastering that interview?
Yes, you don't get the job.
Well, I don't have a question. I'm Jasmine. I'm sorry. I actually just came in. So I'm coming in on the tail end of this, but I appreciate you all letting me in. My apologies for being late. But yeah, so I'm just here to learn. So I don't have a question, but I just wanted to make it known that I just got in. So so I hope I didn't miss too much.
We'll have it
Hopefully.
recorded. We'll make sure that everybody knows where they can find the information once it's done. So no worries, Jasmine. Thanks for joining.
I see some chat, but I'm not sure. Did you see them, Tamara?
Yes, I did see somebody was asking if you had any
No questions, just feedback, but I want to.
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Hello?
This is Jessica.
You're breaking
no
up.
questions. I was just gonna, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Did
can
it
hear you
stop?
now.
Can you hear me? Okay. I said no questions. I was just going to share great tips about my stud whenever I'm doing presentations like this, what interview behavior or outfit should look like. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Also, I was also asked to mention lighting. Again, because we're in the virtual world, you want to ensure that if you're doing a virtual interview, you're not in a dark space. You're in an area where there's good lighting. If that means, ladies, we need to invest in our makeup mirrors. They have different sizes, not just for your one-time interview, but just to have, because sometimes you'll do your makeup and you go out and it's a completely different look, because we're relying on this yellow lighting that many of us have in our restroom. That's a no. Number one, switch out your light bulbs. Switch them out, ladies. That way you're able to see the actual shade and the foundation. Make sure it's matching. In an interview, a virtual interview, you need to have good lighting. It should not be in a yellow background. Again, this is what it is. It's actually this is what they're grading you on. You're not coming into the office. If you don't get this initially, if they have a problem seeing your face because the room is dark, then that's it. We move on to the next applicant. So ensure that your lighting is good. If it's more than likely it's going to be daytime, try to set up an area where you're facing the sun or a window so you get great natural lighting. that helps as well. Most times the interview will be in the daytime, so that's a tip for our daytime interviews. I'm not sure there are any nighttime interviews unless it's a specific job that you're going after. If so be the case, hey, we're not here to judge. Get a light in. So you'll definitely need a light for nighttime virtual engagement, Zoom calls and things of that nature.
We actually have some males on the lines. So any tips for grooming for our guys? Maybe not makeup, but anything. Sometimes they may have locks. How should their hair be? Any recommendations for them? Moisturize? I don't know.
Absolutely. For some reason, a lot of people, when they hear makeup, they think only women wear makeup. But listen, your toughest of toughest of male characters or icon that you see on TV, we have to put a little makeup on them too, right? But if you're a guy and if you're wearing locks like me, if you have locks, you don't want your locks to be down in your face on the day of the interview, right? You want to ensure that your locks, they're neatly groomed that particular day. Now, if you have your locks back, you want to ensure that the edges, you get a nice tape, just to look clean, again, polished. We're going for that clean, polished look. So we want to ensure, don't be greasy, don't look greasy. Make sure your face is not greasy. So guys, if you have girlfriends or wives, you might have them touch you down a little bit, just in the hairline area and your nose area. You want to pat that area down. And it's okay to wear some chapstick. Make sure your lips are not looking dry. You just look, refreshed and ready to take on this role that you're about to, go in. Everyone needs to look their best, whether you're a male or a female. Grooming is essential when you're facing an interview. And the same thing goes for the lighting.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we are ready to look the part. We've already got our resume to the right person. So we're gonna move right along to mastering that interview. We're gonna, that'll be Cheryl Morris who's gonna take us through that. And if you guys have any questions, there will be some Q&A at the end, so feel free to drop them in the chat. We're gonna go ahead and move right along. Cheryl, are you ready?
I am.
All
Well,
right.
thank you guys. Tatiana, Jessica, and Keisha set the tone in terms of the interviews, in terms of where we are. So now you've got this first stage. I work in healthcare. We've been interviewing for the past, I would say, 6 months, mostly virtual. And then our final candidate does come in and do the final interview. So we want to talk about how to prepare for the actual interview virtually, and then what to do once you are doing the Zoom or Teams or whatever process. So the first thing you really want to do is research the company. You definitely want to go online, look at LinkedIn, look at everything online that you can find about the company, and also the person that's going to interview, even the recruiter. It does help you to set the tone, and it helps you to actually find things that you're have in common with the interviewer. And so once you're able to bring that in, it makes the interview much better. Some of the things you also want to think about in terms of the virtual platform is download Skype, Zoom, Teams on your computer and your phones before the interview, because every company uses different platforms for interviews. For example, we use Teams, and so a lot of people, once they sign in, they have trouble because they actually have to create the password, they have to create an account with Teams, and it's challenging for them. So what we recommend is that they you download all the different apps ahead of time, link it to your email that you use for interviews, so that it's already set up. Definitely recommend that you sign in 15 minutes early. I can tell you, out of all the interviews that we have, probably one in 3 have technical issues. And it always has to do with, sometimes it's on our side, because Teams has had some issues over the last couple of months in terms of the integrity. So we will definitely go back with that. But you definitely want to at least log in earlier and test it. Test to see how you look. So for example, And I realized my lighting is off here in terms of Keisha, when she talked about the lighting, it's so critical. So it's 6 o'clock, I'm in Atlanta and it's dark. And so in my area that I do this, that I'm calling from, it's very dark. There's not enough lighting. So on Zoom, there's a feature that says low light. So that's why it actually gave me better lighting compared to actually my setting where it's very dark. So lighting is critical in terms of there. The other thing you want to think about is visually is, and I find this a lot of times on interviews, is your computer placement or your phone placement. You want to connect to the person that you're talking to. So like even now, I see myself, so I'm looking at myself when I'm talking to see, oh, how am I doing? How you doing? You can't do that. You actually have to look at the camera, and you can see the difference. Once I'm looking at the camera, there is that intensity because you're trying to connect to that person who's interviewing you. So look at the camera, focus in on them, and use that to connect, because connection is what we use to make our decisions when we're hiring people. So, when you think about, also my computer is actually raised, I put it on a little box. So my laptop is a little higher than I normally would have it. And I actually put it forward so that it can view it. I can't tell you how many people I interviewed. I'm like, are they really in bed? Are they really in bed interviewing right now? Because all I see is their boobies, because it's that the view is up. So you want to make sure that your computer is straight forward, high, so that you can do direct eye contact. Definitely want to find a quiet place. You will have interruptions. We understand that. I've had so many kids kind of come into the interview, and and the dogs will bark. That will happen. And you know what? Make it fun. If it does happen, you said, I apologize. Don't pretend that it's not happening, because we see it. We do see the dogs, we see the kids, and actually helps you to connect with the person. So just laugh through it a little bit. It makes you be more personable when you do that. In terms of dressing for success, so on the interview, you see I'm wearing a jacket, and from top up, you got to have that professional, polished look. Definitely, like Keisha mentioned, you have to have that polished look. No matter what position you're applying for, you want to do the nice first impression. So definitely want to dress for success. Now, below, who cares? Nobody sees it. But everything above the waist needs to be very polished. Consider your background, whether it's, there's got to be no distractions for the person that's interviewing you. So don't have a closet behind you open and different things. As much as you can, have a very, no distractions in your background. In terms of your computer, you want to actually reset your computer before you start your interviews. Again, that's why 15 minutes early is going to be important, because things pop up. So for example, we have interviews where we have people actually show presentations. So, when you show a presentation, we see your desktop, right? We see whatever pictures you have. We see anything that may pop up. And so whatever searches you've been doing, they're all going to show. So definitely want to close everything because it does pop up. And then internet. We've had a lot of challenges with internet. That's why you actually want to have your cell phones with the same apps on your cell phone. It has happened that everything goes down and the person had to switch over to their cell phone. So are you ready? And with your cell phone, what I recommend everyone doing is, have some sort of holder. So this is a holder that I use on my cell phone, so you can see. So I'm able to actually use that, but I have to bring it forward again. It can't be back. I bring it forward and put something in the back so that visually, again, your face looks like you're connecting to the person. If it's back or you're seeing lower body, it really isn't a good connection for the person. And it's a first impression, right, that you're making with this. I'll go to the next slide. So in terms of executing, how do you do it? So again, arrive 15 minutes early is critical. So with Teams and Zoom and some of these, when I'm doing my interviews, I'm back to back in meetings, but I actually can tell when the person comes. So it tells me meeting has started. And so we can actually see when someone starts. The worst thing to do on a Zoom meeting is to come in late. Don't come in late. Most of the times when you do sign in, there is a feature of a waiting room. So we would then need to admit you into the meeting. So it's okay to sit in the waiting room, but what I recommend that you do is you go into the waiting room, click on your settings and see your camera. How do you look on your camera? And so that you have the right setup. So is it that you're too forward, too backward? What is it that, how do you look? Because each of the different technologies are different. So you want to have to use that 15 minutes to set up your camera, making sure that you come across again positively. Colors are going to be important. Stripes are going to be very distracting, especially with some of the zooms and things, especially with the backgrounds. If you do backgrounds, great. Sometimes the backgrounds are for us, what we see is your hands disappear, your face disappears. So you probably should not do the background because it doesn't make you look authentic unless you feel like you had a good green screen or something behind it. Or you find an area that, you know, it's more important for you to, if your background is just so distracting that you need it. But just be careful when you do those screens that you test it. And I would do a call with a friend and test to see how you look. There are some backgrounds that are great. And then there's just some backgrounds that we're like, where did they go? They disappeared. The colors that you wear also helps with the impacts of disappearing as well. So once you know, again, if I have an interview with 1 or 2 people on our side, then it does look different. You want to be personable. You want to have that smile on your face. You want to look into the camera. Again, when you look into the camera, it's so different. And we can tell because we're trying to connect to you. So looking into the camera, definitely want to create a process that you can take notes, but still look. So for example, I'm able to look here and take the notes. I have my camera, and what I did is I moved my computer away from me. So I have space in front to take notes as you go along. And you want to ask questions. Definitely want to ask questions, have a list of questions. And that's why doing that research is going to be critical, because then you can say, well, we heard that you're merging with another company. How is that going to impact my role? And they're like, wow, they did the research to understand how about this company. So that's helpful. And again, the last part I have here is the backup plan. Having that backup plan, whether it's an iPad, laptop, or your phone, is going to be critical, because the worst thing to do is for us to cancel an interview because you were not ready. It's called setting the stage. And I think that's a first impression that you can't overcome with it. And next slide. In terms of questions, pay attention to the questions that we ask. There's a reason behind it. We're trying to see how you think and how you answer. So you want to be very direct. One of the nice things about looking at using Zoom or Teams is there's timers, right? So right now there's a timer on this. So I look at that, and as you're answering the questions, please don't go past like 8 minutes. That's too long. I've had interviews, usually our first Zoom or Teams interview is 30 minutes. I said, the first question we ask you is, tell us about yourself. Tell me about your career. And they go for 15 minutes. And so it's too long, because now we have only 15 minutes left for me to ask questions to actually understand the role that you did and for you to ask questions. So you've actually reduced the time. So you want to hit on the key points, similar to what Tatiana and Jessica mentioned earlier, is hit on those key points that you would include in that cover letter and highlight it, but don't go into so much detail on that when you're answering your questions. You definitely want to quantify your achievements. We want to look at, numbers is going to be important. So you say how, don't just say I. You want to say, well, we were able to improve our customer service from 60% to 90%, and really proud of that. So you want to have some quantifiable numbers. Important thing is it's a smile on your face. Again, you want to make sure that you're connecting, and there's like a little bit of a smile when you connect. When we're thinking, sometimes we tend to scroll, and we're like, oh, and that view comes across clearly. And so you want to make sure that you're actually having a little bit of smile. Pay attention to what your person who's interviewing respond. If they start getting distracted, looking at their phones and things like that, that tells you they're not connected, and you need to figure out how to actually connect back to them. And that way, I usually just ask questions is a good way to connect them back into you. So you're like, tell me, You know, a question that I hear a lot is, what do you love about working for this company? And then they start smiling and telling you all about the company, and they get re-engaged because they realize that you're interested not just in the job, but also the company and why it's a good company to work for. So that's important. The final phase, I think the next slide, let me make sure there's no more there. In terms of wrapping it up is, once you do the virtual, you probably are, and I know for us, we like to do an in-person interview as well, because we want to see you, want to connect. However, with COVID, you're going to be wearing a mask. So when Keisha mentioned your eyes are going to be critical in your makeup because you're going to be wearing a mask. So the only thing they see on the interview in person is going to be your eyes. So you want to ensure that you have that done in a way that's going to be flattering for you, your mascara, your eyeliner, but not that is jarring, because again, it's not a club makeup. It's going to be makeup for making a polished impression. So that's important. In terms of the follow-up, please always send a thank you. Send it, you want to send it the same day or send it the next day. In some of our interviews, we interview people, you may even have 10 interviews. Every single person you interact with, please send them a thank you note. And that's important. And also ask them, what's the next step? That's important in terms of the timeline. They may say, well, we just started and we're finalizing our candidates, or they say we're at the last part. Always important to ask the next step. And again, the thank you note goes a long way. I know it's time consuming. I know it's not something that everybody likes to do, but definitely send a thank you note to on the interview, including your recruiter. Your recruiter goes a long way. They are the ones that will sell you to the hiring manager. So you want to make sure that you send a thank you note throughout the process with the recruiter. I think that's the last one. Next one.
That's it. Awesome, Cheryl. Great way to wrap it up. Thank you so much for making time. We have a few questions here. How soon should a note be sent? Is it ever too late? Like, what's the latest?
Well, definitely want to send a note within the same day or the next day. I think if you go past 3 days, it's too late because we've been interviewing people. So now you get blended in with everybody else. So I would say within the same day. I prefer the next day is nice because it seems genuine in terms of what you're doing. And in your thank you note, find something that you connected to the person with, and then add it to the thank you note. Do not just do it generic. So for example, a fun thing is like, say your dog barked. It's like, thank you so much for this, for giving me opportunity to interview with you. Hopefully the distraction of my dog or whatever in the name of your dog wasn't too distracting. He just loves to be participating. And because when I read that note, I'm going to connect and laugh, right? Because I'm like, yeah, I remember you now. And that makes a difference in terms of the interview. So connections, don't do templates because, for example, when we see thank you notes, sometimes I forward it over because I'm like, oh, well, they sent a thank you note. So you don't want to be so generic in it because we may communicate if you're doing multiple interviews. So that's important to make sure it's actually connected to the person that you're interviewing with.
Awesome. Great question.
I have a question. Hi, my name's Candace.
Hi, Candace.
Hi. So my question is about during the interview, when the interviewer asks you, what questions do you have? What questions do you think is appropriate to ask? And is it inappropriate to ask about salary at that point?
Yeah, so I would say you want to have questions about the role, right? Because you should have asked for the job description. If not, definitely always ask your recruiter to send you the job description ahead of time so you have that. You want to show that you're interested in being part of the team, and your questions should align to that. Well, what are the top priorities for the job? What it is that you want to ask questions so that the interviewer feels that you're interested in the job there. Salary, I would tell you that most of our positions, we don't, when we're interviewing as the hiring manager, I don't discuss salary. I don't even have information on the salary. The recruiter is the appropriate person to talk about salary. And so that will be with the recruiter. And that's usually my answer. I'm like, I have no idea. of the salary range, you would have to talk to the recruiter. So definitely try to do that with the recruiter before you actually interview.
So do you think, like, does it put you off of that person if they do ask about salary during the interview?
Sometimes it does, because I don't have the information to answer them. So it puts me in a little bit of an awkward situation. And because salary is based on your experience, right? And your years of experience, and those are the things that determine salary. We have a range that we have for every single role, but it all depends on that. And because the recruiter is the one that handles that, we're like, are they interested in the company? Are they interested in the money they're going to make? You know,
Yes.
and that turns us off a little bit, because it's not your questions are more about the money versus, is this a great place for me? What am I going to contribute? What's my value to you? And what's
Yes.
the organization? So we I would tell you, try to have that conversation with the recruiter versus interviewing you, because it does turn them off.
I will say, so I just recently had an interview, and the recruiter told me to ask the manager about the starting salary, and of course the manager's response was exactly what you said. I have no idea. And I was like, oh crap, like, should I have asked that? Like, I wished I didn't ask the question. But it was just, I don't know, I shouldn't ask it.
You know what, the thing about it is, right now, when you're interviewing, you're setting the stage just to get in, right? And once they like you, then they're going to offer you the position. That's when salary comes in, right? So that's the final phase, is the salary phase.
Very true.
And I think, again, if you can get it up front from the recruiter, but then you want to do it at the end after they've selected you. So it should not be part of your interview with the
Got
person.
it. That was actually the first time I've ever asked that question during an interview. I don't know what possessed me to ask that question, but
It's a great question, Candace. And sometimes I would say, unless the hiring manager opened that door, as Cheryl mentioned, leave that up to you and HR for sure. Someone has mentioned in the chat, asking about the culture of the company, team dynamic, expectations beyond what may be given in the description is a great start. So as Cheryl mentioned, we just want to know, are you a good fit? And is a company, a good fit for you? We have another question here in the chat. Is it appropriate to ask about how the company has handled their employees or had to deal with adjusting to operating during COVID-19?
Yeah, definitely you can ask that question, because, some of the questions people ask me is, am I going to be allowed to work from home, for example? And what we tell them is, it's like, once we start you usually are going to be trained, and because we're in healthcare, I mean, literally you have to go to work for us. But what we tell them is that, we're flexible. But we have to, the first couple months, you're going to be in the hospital or in the office. And then once we get you trained, then there's some flexibility with COVID until we're back into a lockdown situation. But in healthcare, we're pretty much working, all the time now. We're always in the office. We're pretty open with that, and we follow the protocol. Again, you have to wear a mask in the offices all the time, and creating that environment. So we're pretty clear with our people we're interviewing. If you want to just only work from home, there's some roles that have that opportunity, and I have to say that's a good thing about COVID, is that it made us realize there are roles that you can work from home as well. So we are actually doing that and exploring that more and more.
Great. Any other questions? I could foresee, honestly, a whole nother workshop just talking about negotiating salaries, because we know that, especially us, we sometimes have a hard time with asking for what we deserve. So that may be something forthcoming, just based off of some of the questions. Any other questions, though, that we have? This has been amazing. So many golden nuggets. So many golden nuggets. Yes, Alika, knowing our worth. For sure. All right. Right. I think so many people said we've covered a great amount of things. All right, let me see if I had anything else. We kind of try to prepare some questions just in case. But I think you guys were so awesome and intuitive that you've answered them. We had a question about if we had an issue with connectivity, but you answered that by saying we should absolutely have a backup plan, have your phones ready in case your computer goes out. We really want to, is there a recommend? Okay, no, I think that was it. Hold on, some messages at the bottom. Give me just a moment, guys. Okay. All right. Thank you. I think overall we will be recording this and we will share with everyone how you can review it later in case you weren't able to take notes. Oh, we do have a question. I'm sorry. About the objective. So I know that I think this would be for Tatiana or anybody else. So Tatiana mentioned summary of qualifications. I don't know how long most of you guys have been making resumes. In the past, it used to be called the objective. Do we still need an objective? Do we just use a summary of qualifications? Do we need both? Any feedback on that?
I say that we just need a summary of qualifications, because a lot of times when we try to do an objective, we try to stand out to one particular line, saying what the objective of this resume is or what the objective of this job is. But when you have a summary of qualifications, like I stated, when you're doing your when you are adding a cover letter, to me, your summary of qualifications, for those of you who create a resume that it doesn't require adding a cover letter to it, your summary of qualifications is a quick snapshot, just like your cover letter. So it's kind of basically going over again, like I said, who you are, your educational background, just really quick saying who you are, and then also saying, in a sense, like the position you're applying for, those adjectives, those verbs, those key words that you're looking for. So I say a summary of qualifications over an objective.
All right, great point. You can also find this webinar on Facebook Live to review at a later date. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram on North Broward County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Our handle for Instagram is NBCAC DST, right, PR? Did I get that right? No, I got it wrong. NBCAC Deltas, I'm sorry. So you can follow us on there so you can get more information about any upcoming events. I think we may need a part 2 regarding negotiating salaries and things of that nature. So we'll definitely keep you up to date on that. And thank you all. If we get more questions, speakers, Keisha, if you want to put your information in the chat, that would be great. I'm sure somebody wants you to beat their face like yesterday. Okay, they might need a personal one-on-one because I did not know I could put orange on my eyes. Like, what is that? I'm afraid, but now I want to try it. Tatiana, if you want to put your information in the chat if somebody else needs some help. I know Jessica, you mentioned that. Cheryl, she's my mentor. I don't want to really share. I shared her with you guys tonight, but you can follow her on LinkedIn as well so you can see how amazing she's doing. But if you guys want to share your information in the chat so that people can reach out to you, we can't thank you guys enough for making time for us tonight. And I'm sure this will reach and grow legs, not only the people who are here tonight, but others who really needed this valuable information. Thank you all so much on behalf of our chapter. This is really amazing. So happy. We're really pleased.
Orange looks great on colored women.
Look, I'm ready. I am so ready to
because it's I mean, when I first, and a quick little thing, right? The first time there's this one color that MAC has, I mean, it's like super orange. So you see it and you're like, oh my God, no, that's the minute you put it on your skin, it just goes in your skin like butter. And you're like, wow, you just come alive. So don't be afraid to try something, but don't try it on the day of the interview.
Oh no.
Try it before and get familiar with it. But you guys are gonna do awesome. And just be confident in who you are whenever you go into these interviews. Don't pretend to be anybody else because you will forget who you're pretending to be. Be yourself at all times. And the job that is curated and designed for you will come to you.
Good point. Good point. I think Cheryl had mentioned on there, know your resume. So if you're getting help to enhance your resume, make sure it's still truthful, because they're going to ask you questions based on your resume, and you don't want to be unfamiliar with what you have on there. So
Okay.
don't pretend to be anybody but who you are, and make sure that you're familiar with what you've already put out there. Okay. Thank you all. Have a great evening.